Okay, this is RayJ2, and I'm going to review the latest episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. No, this isn't a joke, I actually do watch this show. I started watching about 4.5 months ago after avoiding it for almost 2 years because I was afraid I might actually get into it. Well, it turns out I shouldn't have feared such silly things, as the show is awesome, and now I watch every new episode as they come out, so I'm going to try something I've never done before and review the latest episode, Games Ponies Play. So that's my intro, let's get into things. The episode starts out nicely enough with a great callback to the last episode, Just for Sidekicks. In that episode, we got to see the main six leave for the Crystal Empire, and there was all sorts of wacky hijinks and shenanigans while they were gone. Well, this time we're getting the ponies' point of view, and while it sounds like it could be fun, nothing really happens to them besides a mix-up. We learn of the Equestria Games, which is apparently the Olympics of Equestria. So we're going to see ponies compete and get medals, right? No, we're going to get something much more bland than that. Also, for an episode titled Games Ponies Play, there weren't any games being played. I guess the original episode title, Twilight Sparkle & Co.'s Game Inspector Mix-Up, didn't have the same ring to it. Wait, is that Rainbow Dash's dad? Rainbow Dad? Rainbow Dude? We get to see this guy in a flashback as Rainbow is talking about how Cloudsdale lost the games to Philadelphia back in the 80s. Okay, maybe not the 80s, but some time ago when Rainbow was a Philly. And now she's determined not to let the same fate happen to the Crystal Empire. Okay, so Rainbow has motivation. Awesome. This episode's going places, right? Once the ponies arrive in the Crystal Empire, Rainbow immediately starts harassing a small child, completely determined not to let anybody feel the crushing disappointment of possibly losing the games. It was at this point I realized, what if this episode was about how to deal with bad news and disappointment? I think that would have made for a much more interesting episode than the one we got. The timing would have been perfect too, especially after their recent announcement of popular fan game Fighting is Magic getting shut down. Hey, Candace is back. Don't worry, she won't be doing anything of note in this episode and will proceed to be as bland as possible. So anyway, our first conflict is that Candace, Princess of the Kingdom, needs to fashion her hair in a specific way to impress the games inspector, but the stylist is sick, so Rarity takes on the job instead. This leads to the best part of the episode. Once again, I think the entire episode being based on Rarity trying to accomplish such an over-the-top hairstyle would have been funnier. But then again, I'm not going to bash the episode based on what I wanted to see, but rather review what's here. Now on to our second conflict. The games inspector, Miss Harsh Winnie. Get it? Harsh Winnie. Yeah, these horse jokes never get old. Anyway, Harsh Winnie is arriving in 15 minutes. Not a lot of time to prepare, so everybody besides Rarity goes off to greet her and show her the best day ever. Unfortunately, nobody actually knows what the games inspector actually looks like. You'd think this would be important information, but in fact, all they have to go on is that she'll be getting off at the next train and that she has a flower print suitcase. The pony they eventually greet at the station seems a bit confused at first. Could they possibly have the wrong... Oh wait, yeah, they do. Cutting back to Rarity, who's currently using a power drill on Candace's mane. This is probably my favorite scene in the episode because of how over-the-top awful her hairstyle has become. Rarity's voice actress does a fantastic job as usual, and Candace is about to cry at how horrible the situation is turning out. Remember kids, never skip step 12. Back to the main six, the random pony they stole from the train station seems to be having a good time except for her claustrophobia and confusion as to why she's being treated so specially. To buy more time, the ponies take her on a tour of the castle that they know nothing about, while Twilight checks up on Candace. This is the second best scene in the episode. What's with this episode and the awesomely bad hairstyles? This episode should have been called Hair Ponies Style. Hey, it's Shining Armor! I don't know why, but I really like this character. Twilight goes to him after worrying that everything might not turn out alright, but it's okay. Shining Armor just says that everything will be alright, and this makes Twilight feel better somehow. Alright, I can deal with that. It also looks like Shining has taken up using the Royal Canterlot voice while coaching, otherwise known as yelling. Meanwhile, the fake games inspector, who I'm now going to refer to as that crazy chicken lady, has found the outdoor track where Twilight's at, and wants nothing more than to run around like a chicken. A headless chicken with no regard to anyone or anything around her. You shouldn't just run around all willy-nilly because eventually you might get a pot stuck on your head. And if you're a claustrophobic pony, this is a big deal. She freaks out and runs away, but Rainbow is there to save her, and while this is going on, still nobody's realized that the crazy chicken lady isn't the real games inspector, even though it should be pretty obvious by now. It isn't until Twilight asks her directly if she's the inspector that they learn that they've been fools all along. And with only 4 minutes left in the episode, they need to resolve things fast. Luckily, since this is My Little Pony we're talking about here, things are resolved quickly. The real inspector is out spending time with the crazy chicken lady at the spa, and she's telling her of the great time she had being claustrophobic and running around. Rarity fixes Candance's hair in time, Rainbow confesses to her blunders, and the Crystal Empire ends up getting the games. The episode ends with another callback to the previous episode with Spike and his gang hiding under the train beds. It seems like it would be a great cliffhanger if we already didn't know what happens. Some people said that this episode would have been better off aired first instead of last week's episode. I'd have to disagree with that because then the next episode would have been hyped as Spike and everyone else in the Crystal Empire, when in reality, I think he spends less than 5 minutes there and doesn't even leave the train station if I remember correctly. And then people would complain, but people complain anyway, so that's no big deal. As for the episode itself, I remember saying to myself, wow, that was tremendously average. And it's true. There just wasn't much going on. The story was bland and Pinkie Pie was annoying. I usually enjoy Pinkie Pie's antics, but this episode, pretty much all of her gags simply just fell flat for me. I mean, at one point she's just making random faces and noises. There's nothing interesting or clever about it. So I don't think I'll be revisiting this episode in the future. So hopefully next week's episode will be better. I'll see you next time.